you tell me a little bit about how you're involved with the creative arts in Teesside?
Okay, so I started off as a community artist, painting murals, running a print room and kids events, and I'm also a visual artist doing printing and painting. And then I also came into circus and performance. So in the last few years, though, my main involvement has been arts in health, as I'm a trained drama therapist, but I'm bringing all the other stuff that I've done in the past with me, if that makes sense. And I got involved with the arts by going to art college. I went to Bradford Art College and got a BA in art and design. And I specialised in community arts, printmaking, fine art, and I loved etching and I loved painting murals.
So a wide spectrum of
yeah,
interest.
yeah, multimedia I think is the term, but yeah, a massively wide spectrum. I got a job as an arts worker with a play organisation in Bradford, so this is going back quite a bit, where I was running a print room and a photography dark room. I was creating events and play opportunities for children, so puppet shows, performances, inflatables, play schemes, all the kinds of different arts things, printing t-shirts, all of that kind of stuff. And then I got into circus.
You're kind of like a one-woman festival all to yourself.
That's a nice way of putting it. I just think jack of all trades sometimes, you know, when you know lots of different stuff. So it was then, though, that I got interested in circus skills, because it was just getting introduced into this country at that time. And I used that as a community arts tool. And I literally ran away with the circus, really. So I trained in that at a place called Full Time in Bristol. I managed to get some funding for that as well out of Bradford Council, yay. And trained in it, and then I worked with a company that was the first new circus company to set up in this country, well, in the north, I would say. They were called Snapdragon Circus, and they were based in Hebden Bridge. And so I worked with them, and then after that set up a company in Bradford called Skinning the Cat, which was an all-women trapeze troupe, and we toured all over. And then I helped set up Chimera, which was based in Middlesbrough, with a colleague, and we toured with that as well. And then I it's a really tough life, really, sledgehammering stakes into the ground and then performing and touring. So I kind of got a bit fed up of that. And
so were you based in, I think, are you in Gisborough, somewhere like that? Are you based here all the time you were doing this, or did you live like down in Bradford or Bristol?
I moved up to Middlesbrough when I set up Chimera.
Right.
So kind of halfway through my circus time, really. And yeah, that it was a great time, but also some of that time I was living in a vehicle, so I was parked up at Stokesley for some of the time, and then finally started living in bricks and mortar. And I'm based in Saltburn now.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, so I was talking to the screenwriter Ishi Din about the things that we do and the sacrifices that we make on our trail to becoming artists, or trying to make money out of being artists.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Has this always been the way that you've made a living, or have you always been engaged with the arts, or is that something that happened later on?
Yeah, I've always been engaged with the arts, really. So I've managed to, but I've also trained in other things as well. So currently I'm working as a drama therapist. So I trained as a drama therapist as well, and hence my use of arts in health. But I've also kind of trained in play, I've trained in counselling, all of those different kind of spheres, and used the arts within it. So I've also set up, when we set up Skinning the Cat, for example, that was like a business partnership, and we managed to get grants for that. And similarly with Shamira. But sometimes, you know, it depends on the climate, what kinds of grants are available for whatever you're doing. And one of the things that I used to do as well was work with artists to do the Pageant of Light in Saltburn. And at first, you know, there was funding for that, but gradually that diminished, and so that ended. So it kind of depends on, you know, where people are, what skills there are around, what funding there is around, really what can be achieved, I think, and how much energy you've got for it.
Yes, you do need to. I was thinking about it last night. Seems weird how tiring it is doing a project like this, but I think that's because I'm so engaged in it that you just put a lot of your energy into it, and so at the end of the day it can be quite, you kind of realize, wow, well, it's not like I've been shimmying up buildings or doing anything energetic, but I still feel a bit yeah, like I have been.
Yeah.
It's really interesting what you're saying about the therapy side of it. I studied therapeutic writing as part of my degrees at Teesside University. So I normally ask a question about beyond actually the artifact, the art itself, the performance itself, what do the creative arts bring to people and bring to society? So I guess you know more about this than a lot of people, seeing the way that I guess it can transform people just by engaging with the arts.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really think that we're all creative beings, and arts help to make us feel fulfilled on some level. And they can be really healing. They can help you to see whatever difficulties you're facing from a different point of view, from a distance. They can bring people together. They can help you have an embodied experience that can be really healing. They can be celebratory, they can be deeply personal, inspiring and joyful. And essentially, they can embrace all aspects of our human experience.
Well, that about sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been interesting for me. Obviously, in lockdown, I've got a couple of kids, so I've been doing homeschooling, and I thought I'd hate it, but actually, it's been really nice, particularly when it comes to well, I really do like maths. I kind of lead a dual life as an artist. But you know, the English and history, it's been great to engage with them on that, and to see them being interested in art. I let my elder son make a Banksy on the one of our outbuildings.
Excellent.
You just see, it's been interesting to see, talking to some younger people that have just left university or still there, to see that their parents have been quite encouraging of them to focus on perhaps making a career in the creative arts and to take creative subjects at university. And I was saying that when I was at school, it was just seen as a silly thing, like something that you played around with. And I think the importance of arts is starting to be recognised, but I don't think the full scope of what it does has been. Like, for example, if you work in drama therapy, what kind of people are involved, and you know, what kind of services do you think they would be drawing upon if somebody like you didn't facilitate their healing through the workshops that you do?
Well, I practice in a school, so I practice mostly in schools at the moment with primary aged children, and so I work with lots of different kinds of materials with young people so that they can explore that kind of embodied experience, so they can explore projective experiences, say with puppetry or image making. For embodied experience, it would be more clay and making, but also with roles, so like dressing up and thinking about, you know, playing different roles. So I work with those three kinds of elements, really: the projective, the embodiment, and the role. And you know, I think they're all really massively important to our human experience and part of our developmental process as well. And the arts are just perfect to explore all of those things.
Absolutely, and I think we've been doing that since the beginning of time, really.
Absolutely, we have. Absolutely, we have. I mean, the thing that I really love as well is I absolutely love trapeze. So when I worked in circus, I performed as a trapeze artist, and I still teach that now. So I teach that at the Earthbeat Centre in Saltburn.
Wow.
But I really feel like that was one of the most healing things I've ever done in my life, because not only was I really physically exploring all my boundaries and pushing them, but I was also projecting. So to music, I would make up my own routine, using music that I really liked, and then I would perform that as well. So that was kind of like an amazing experience for me. So that's why I still teach that as well now, although obviously we've got COVID and all of that kind of stuff happening. And one of the things that I started just before COVID was I was working with Eva Women's Aid, with women that have experienced domestic violence. And I got an innovation award from the British Association of Drama Therapists to run 3 cohorts with women using trapeze as part of that drama therapy experience. So I'm absolutely gutted that COVID happened, because I just finished one cohort and was buzzing and ready to do the next. And I just don't know how long I'm going to put that on hold, really. So,
Wow, that sounds incredible. I can imagine doing it. I can imagine the effect that having the courage to do it might give you. And you've kind of led me on to my last question, which is the lockdown question, you know, how it is affecting practice. So obviously that was a really exciting project that's been curtailed. Is there hope that it will pick up again?
yeah.
To do the arts?
Yeah. I know. I think it's more difficult for the performing arts, isn't it? And particularly for that project, because a lot of that involved safe touch, and touch is the one thing we cannot do. So unless I can form a bubble out of thin air, then, you know, then that particular project is on hold for now. But I am going to resume my trapeze classes, and, you know, sort of figuring out ways to do that. Obviously, you've got to be creative to figure out ways to get around COVID or to be safe in COVID. So I've got to limit my class numbers. Young people will have to stay on the same piece of equipment throughout. But I do know that a lot of my students will absolutely be delighted just to be able to get back on the equipment. So that'll be great. Obviously, we can't have any showcases of their work at the moment. And also I do circus workshops all over Teesside as well, generally over the summer. So there's been, excuse me, there's been no events or festivals or galas to go to do those circus workshops. So that's been affected as well. I've also been doing work in school with music, and using drumming as a regulating activity for young people. And so I'm hoping to get that going again in schools after, well, when they go back. So, but that's all got to be negotiated, and more risk assessments and blah, 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 all of that. But I guess the one real positive for me, is I've managed to do loads of artwork that I wouldn't normally get the chance to do. So I've been doing a lot of my own visual arts. I'm doing lots of kind of collage-y type work with bits of old rope, and examining my relationships still to trapeze and rope work and all of that kind of thing through the visual arts, and I've totally enjoyed doing that.
Brilliant. Oh well, I'm glad you've had that. It's that other part of that art question. It's like there are things that I do to have an end product, like I write plays, so it's kind of like about having an end product. But most of my engagement is just because don't think I could survive without artistic expression.
I totally agree. I've been doing Carmen Marcus's writing workshops. She's absolutely brilliant, and I'm halfway through writing a short story myself as well. So I think that writing process is great because it really focuses your mind on like the spoken word and expression as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Julie Easley from Shanty Cafes interviewing Carmen for me. I believe so.
Oh, is she brilliant?
Yeah, she was one of the first people that I saw perform in Teesside, and I was just like, wow, this is something else.
Yeah, she's fantastic, isn't she? And Julie is as well.
Absolutely. This is why we're doing this.
Yeah, totally.
It's been lovely to talk to you and hear about your work, and I hope we run into one another down the line and that you get back to me soon.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, cheers. You too.